and sign. Thank you. Next, I pledge allegiance. I think without our students here, Mr. Bryan, do we have?
We've got them here, but they're just,
They're good.
there they are.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda we've been through is approval of minutes. We have both our regular scheduled meetings, April 22nd. We have this continued on May 13th. We also had minutes from our superintendent search that everyone had a chance to look over. With any questions, changes in any of the minutes, any of the board members would like to mention? Motion to accept, there is a second. A motion is second. All in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. I think we have some recognitions, Dr. Duncan.
Yes,
Correct.
I'm sure do. Okay. Let's see, Vivian? Would you come up, please? James, come on up here. All right. I know we have two individuals retiring from Nantahala. Shirley Baldwin is also retiring. I don't see Shirley here right now, but Vivian, this is a certificate of appreciation from the school board and superintendent's office for your loyalty and dedication and contribution to Macon County Schools for 35 plus years. 35 plus years. Let's give her a nice round.
I thought you had to be past 50 before you were retired.
Okay, James, if you have a couple of people to recognize as well, so.
This one I don't see Mr. Locke for this is our support person of the year, voted on by our faculty and staff. We'd like to recognize Vivian Dowford. Thank you.
Okay.
And I believe Mr. Locke is pulled up, so we'll come back to this in a few minutes.
Yeah, we have
another break.
We'll have Dr. Duncan will give us energy savings. We'll come right back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. This month, our energy savings worked out pretty well. We were down about $3,800 for the total school system. And we've already actually given the awards to them because they, principals wouldn't probably be here and they could actually give them to their faculty. But Mountain View got the silver award this year. They saved $865 in that last month. Macon Middle gets the gold award because they saved $1,125. And Iowa Valley, the bronze award, and their saving was $776. I might add, we have, and through James and his diligence here, his was down a little bit about $209 last month. But we feel like that savings is going to grow to over $700 a year because of working with Duke Power, getting some things off of our books that didn't need to be there. And he's done an excellent job of bringing them on board and doing an audit up here with them. And I think that's about $700, James, the last I looked, that is going to drop our bill up here simply by doing some, it's not going to be less service, it's just going to be that other people need to pay for the services that we've been paying for. And it will, we'll get some timing and timers on some things and this type of thing. But I appreciate what James and his staff are doing, and you'll recognize it in your utility bills coming up during the next year. So I want to compliment everybody on trying to do the best thing. I think that our actual power bills probably will be down for the year, simply because of people trying to do the right thing and turning them off. And I know sometimes there's complaints about it, but at least maybe we're on the right track with that. So I appreciate that. And I think, has Mr. Locke come in yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Come on, Mr. Long.
Too much going on one day.
We've had two gentlemen come in a coat and tie, so I didn't think Mr. Locke was with them. I didn't know if they escorted him or not.
It's just what everybody wants, 2 lawyers. You get a 2-for-1 special though, so that's something.
On behalf of Nantahala School, we'd like to recognize our Teacher of the Year, Mr. Daniel Locke.
And I think next is our Linda Boo Bell's certification candidates. This,
Holly's got it.
well,
Okay, we have 11 people who are, 6 that are recertifying and 5 that are actually.
Come on over here, stand on this side.
Okay. We have 11 people certifying this year, and certification actually is quite a process. They could all attest to that. They've spent a lot of extra time on their own, going through the procedures to get the certification. So I'm very pleased and honored to be able to give these certificates to these individuals tonight. It has been an honor and a pleasure to work with your county this year, so thank you for the opportunity. We've got a few people that are here. There's some that aren't, and I'll make sure that they get to the principals. Kathleen Shook, Mr. Brian, if you could come in. Kathleen Shook and Amanda Jowers are both from Nantahala, and they are both
they're on my field trip this evening.
yes, and they are on a field trip. From MBI, Nikki Oberly is going to be recertified. And just as a side note, Nikki did a lot of extra work this year, helping out with testing, and it's just amazing. So thank you for your hard work this year. Colette Level, also from MBI, and Vivian Honey from MBI. They're both not here this evening. Shelley Bell from Iowa Valley will be recertified, and Kim Burnett is our new certification credit from Iowa Valley. She also did a lot of help with testing in here. Thank you so much for all your assistance. Heather Guest is also recertifying from Iowa Valley. Thank you so much. Vanessa Long is from East Franklin, and also Christy Baird from East Franklin will be recertifying. And then I just wanted to say just a little bit extra on Carrie. Carrie will also be recertifying, and she has been your district representative for the year, and I just need to say that it has been such a pleasure and an honor to work with her. She has just really represented your community very well. She works very well with everyone and always is very proactive in coming up with solutions for your county. So I very much appreciated working with you this year. Thank you.
How was the list?
Terry's gonna.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, so I'm Melissa Garner, it'll be me. I'm going to try to do the interview with you last week and just wanted everyone to know that she is really pleased. Everyone very confident is very pleased with the work fund. In this district, you have made so much progress. This is kind of the progress that we would normally make in our 4th or 5th year on another project, and so they brag about you all the time. So thank you so much for all your hard work in the district.
So I'm just going to recap with you. Please, at any point, if you have questions or any clarification, please stop me and we'll do that. But so today, this is our second year of the project. So we have over 150 teachers trained in one or both processes that we're using in all schools except for the high school right now. We had 5 additional staff complete certification this year, with the 6 that were recertified from the initial. So we have 11 total now. East Franklin, Nantahala, Highlands, Mountain View, and I believe Isle of Toonie, left them off, are all implementing tiers 1, 2, and 3. And so that's the process of tier 1 is whole classroom approach. Tier 2 are kids that are going to need strategic intervention for about 45 minutes a day. Tier 3 are those 90-minute intervention groups. We are planning to have a summer school again this summer with approximately 50 to 55 students. This past year, we also did training in On Cloud 9, which is the math component of Linda Newbell. We had an EC and a few select teachers that were trained in that. And depending on the contract level, next year we'll be rolling the math program out as well. I'm the district facilitator that you graciously approved last year, and the plan for my position is so that in the future, when we are not contracting at the level we are now with a consultant, that I would be the person to help facilitate the program in the county. Our tier 3 students, which are those high need students, the 90-minute, they received an average of 118 hours of instruction this year, and the 10% of those receiving 90 hours or more. And those are really good numbers. 80 to 100 hours is what you usually see for a year's worth of growth, so we're a little above that. We had a lot of really good results. We had kids this year coming back down that tier process. At one of our elementary schools, we almost reduced or eliminated the tier 3 group. So students who need 90 minutes of instruction, we're not going to have those groups there. It would just be the 45 minutes. At the schools where we've had whole classroom implementation, we've been very successful with students who were at risk to be retained or to be referred for small group instruction because of the classroom delivery are now not going in either direction. They won't need intensive support or any kind of pull out just from the classroom level instruction. So we had a lot of improvement with paragraph comprehension. That's the children who are, once we take them to the page, they're out of the process, and on the page, the comprehension scores were really improved this year. So really excited about the results we're seeing in Macon County this year. And these are just some data on particular things. Listening comprehension for decoding students went from the 16th to 27th percentile, and that's like oral directions, being able to listen. When we test them, it's multi-step directions, 5 to 7 directions together. So if you're able to follow directions, then you're probably able to follow along in class and be much more successful. If you can't do that, you're going to struggle a little bit. Listening comprehension for just the comprehension students, those are the kids that we use in DV, went from the 12th to 19th percentile. And then the reading comprehensions for both the decoding and comprehension students as well. You can see the growth there. So that's pretty significant growth when you look at where those kids start, because statistically those kids are, when you look at the bell curve, they're way down here. A little bit of growth is huge for them. It's not that easy growth that your average kids make in the middle of that curve. So really positive results there.
Is that tier 2 and 3, or is it more tier 2 than anything else? Those results there?
It's a combination.
A combination of tier 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
45 or 90-minute groups. So our goals for next year, based on, I think you guys have the proposal that Linda put before you. Proposal 1 would be partnering at the same level we are this year with the consultant on the side. That would mean Holly coming back, which is, the thing that I would love to see. But when you bring a new person in, there's a month or so of the school system. If we bring Holly back, then there's no downtime. We're ready to jumpstart day one. But based on that proposal of partnering where we are now, we would continue on with On Cloud 9, hopefully to deliver that in a bigger capacity, maybe into the classroom, with Holly spending a lot of time mentoring that program specifically, which would allow us to remediate not only in reading but in math as well. We would continue with new certification candidates. We had 2 or 3 this year that didn't quite finish for various reasons. That we would finish those and then continue to recertify people that are in place. There are some schools in our district that don't yet have a certification candidate identified, so we would need to continue supporting them with Holly or I at that level. And our focus would be on tiers 1 and 2, especially K2, because that's where we really want to put our focus now, is that whole classroom delivery, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, because that's where we've seen it be very effective to stop those children needing small group intervention. And then reducing that need for 2 and 3 groups, which we are seeing happening this year already. And this was just a quote that we pulled. We sent out a survey to all of the certified, or all of the Bell trained staff this year, as well as all the administrators. And this came off of one of the classroom or teachers in an elementary school that said we need all elementary schools on board in teaching L&D, Seeing Stars, and BD in their classrooms. And struggling students were identified and instructed earlier. Then we would continue instruction at tier 2 level and graduate them out before they went to the middle school. And I know the middle school's been a place that we've really had a lot of concern about, but and with good reason, because the gap is big there. And we're not going to close that gap really quickly. But if we're starting when those kids are really young, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, it becomes part of their everyday classroom. We're talking about 40 minutes for both programs. And at that level, we'd start to see that gap close before they get to MBI or middle school. So I'm really excited about what we've done this year. We have a lot of good results. We have some EOG comparisons if you want to see charts and data that's available. So if you have any questions, I can answer for you.
I think my greatest concern is that MBI, if we all don't get on board at K4, MBI in my mind is going to get killed.
You're right.
They can't win because you're sending in the Franklin area 2 K4 schools. Those students come there without the minimum bell. You got 2 that's coming with minimum bell. I think next year, Dr. Baldwin, the board, will probably have to make some mandated decisions regarding K4 in this program. Because if we look at it this year and next year, you can kind of look at in the Franklin area, with Nantahala and Highlands, I understand you're doing real well. But if you look at the 2 K4 schools that are not participating as much as the other 2 K4 schools, you can look at that as a lab and kind of see the good and bad of it. Then we've got to do something for the buy-in. And I think that, it comes from administration and stuff like that. If the testing results are showing that this is working, my mind as a school board member, I'm going to be looking at that 30% at the end of 3rd grade to see if that's decreasing. That would be my objective. So I worry about MBI because I'll bet you that an MBI teacher can tell you the difference between LMB student and a non-LMB student.
We have to
Yes.
hear test that.
Just common sense guessing.
Yes.
If the results are there, so somewhere down the road, I think we have to come together and say, this is what's in the best interest of our kids. And I think that takes you're going to have resistance, but I think sometimes as leaders here, we may have to stand up and say, we need more of the buy-in. And I think more people you have trained in next year, the naysayers get smaller. When the naysayers get smaller, then the naysayers win.
Not always.
Well, we're going to give it a shot. But the naysayers, I think they may start looking at this total thing too. And I've said it 100 times, you're a one-legged man in a two-legged race. That's just the way it is. And so, I think, in my perspective, and we'll get to it later, is that this next year, if the board chooses to move on with it, is going to be a really rifle approach. Let's look at this thing close and see if we can get the K4 on one page.
Well, you know, I can tell you from the results that we've had this year, it's becoming very prescriptive now. I mean, it's very clear where we need to go, what direction, and that's part of the reason that we made the decisions we did about summer school, is to be very specific about children we could put in there who, with those extra hours, would be finished out of the program and would not need small group support. And in a couple of states, we're looking at eliminating a number of groups for them just through summer school this summer.
I think the more people you train, the more Lynn Bell will go out into tier one.
Absolutely, and that's where we need to be. We don't need to
That's
always.
what you want to do, is work yourself out of a job.
Yeah, we want to be about prevention, not intervention. Yeah.
That's my concern.
We'll talk a bit more about it.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't say anything.
Any other presentations? That you're aware of? If not, this is a time for our board members to move into public comment. I don't know if we had a sign-up sheet or not. This is a time where we invite those that chose to come to the meeting to listen, whatever, to also talk to us. Mr. Beasley, looks like you're first list, so the stage is yours.
Oh, well, is Sidney May on the list?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. May is the one who would like you to do the presentation. I'll just hand you a
Okay.
printout, if that's okay.
By all means, both of them come up.
The Board of Education, and I have welcomed you and hope you all enjoy yourself over there. I have my name is Sidney May, and I have a proposal regarding the purchase and replacement of sign at Nantahala School. Nantahala School does not have a message sign on your school property to help notify the community of scheduled events, athletic contests at the school, as well as variation of the school schedule. Recognizing the financial restraints in this year's budget, we are requesting the board that we will be granted permission to explore the financing and location of the message sign on Nantahala school grounds. We would use this permission from the board as basic of county schools, secure from civic organizations and general public. We would then meet with appropriate district and school personnel regarding safety issues and placement of signs. If we are able to obtain adequate funding. I brought this up before the community club, right before the election. And I thought someone would be looking into it. What I'm asking, have you guys looked at about getting signs somewhere in the school property?
If I understand, you're asking if we as a board looked at it prior to this answer. I'm not aware that we have, no.
Okay. I did discuss that, but I believe you can recall that.
I recall it.
So with that, we would like to propose this. With permission. And I feel that first of all, I'm not very proud of our school. We're the only school that I know of that does not have a sign anywhere. I've been in Graham County, Cherokee County, Macon County, all. And where I've been, they've always have a sign. And I guess what my concern is, what's wrong down here at school happening?
Well, I see what you're asking. You just grant permission to explore financing locations and come back to the board in June and or to somebody, let us know what you found out, is that right?
Yes, we want to explore this. We'd like to get a sign over here, and we'd like to get permission to try to get our own funding, basically.
I think we need a sign. I agree with you. I'd like to see what the cost would be if you could find that out.
Let us know at the next meeting.
Well, if we could have until, say, September, to have a couple of months to look around. The approximate cost is something in, well, depends upon the type site. I mean, if we wanted one like Smoky Mountain Center for the Performing Arts, we but there, some of the signs are, that are fairly nice, that have the school logo, et cetera, are in the $750 range. So we feel like we could probably locate that.
Is that the top that you just go put the message on yourself? Doesn't have like a scroll or anything?
No, unless somebody feels really, really generous. But,
They certainly approach it in the right direction, because the board would have to give permission, because it's, in essence, it's an alteration of the school site, and would have to comply with whatever codes and stuff like that. And they're saying if they're given permission to look at that, that's what they're willing to say to us. Just like we'd give them PTAs, and we give other places permission to do a sidewalk or whatever. This is in the same way, and if the board says, fine, obviously there's not anything in the upcoming capital outlay budget for that, but there's nothing wrong with citizens taking part. And so.
But there's nothing that says that we couldn't have a discussion for the capital outlay money to come to that. I'm not sure that Nantahala should have to be out there looking for that. I mean, I think that's a reasonable thing, and that's not, I know we're tight on money, but we're still in the business of keeping our schools where we're supposed to be.
What I suggest you do, if this is off the board, if y'all can bring back to us a plan and what your vision is and what you'd like to see done, and if you wouldn't mind get us some cost estimates and bring it back to us, then I think that would be the appropriate way to proceed at this point.
Mr. Chairman, we need that into a motion.
I think we
So
do.
can I make a motion that we give them permission to look into the cost and placement of the sign and come back to us at a later
It's up to
date?
whatever.
Let me say one thing. I mean, normally we don't comment to the public in this time frame, but this is something that we do need to do. And we don't want to make a precedent of this, but this is something that needs to be done here a long time. So I think we can step out of what is normal.
That's what I'm saying, if we get the motion, we'll let them explore that, and then they bring it to us July, just however quickly you want to bring it to us. And bring what you're proposing, we'll do that, I think we'll give it serious consideration. Have a motion. All right, we have a motion and a second to allow Griff Bed to explore this possibility of sign and bring it back to us. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The community for bringing that to us. Now, don't get too carried away, Mr. Beasley. I'm not sure we can go there, but we'll see what we can. Those were the only two names that we had on the sign-up sheet. Was there anyone else here that would like to address the board at this time before we move into the rest of the agenda? Just because you didn't sign up doesn't mean you can't. Okay, no one's here. At this time, we're going to move forward into our agenda. First that we have up is our consent agenda. Are there any questions on that?
Yeah, I think I have a request that we move consent agenda into closed session for reasons of personnel.
We have a motion for the board to move the entire consent agenda into closed session for discussion concerning personnel issues. And I have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Moore's here. Yes, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have completed initial screening of the child nutrition director. We're able to sift through several candidates, and we have perhaps an opportunity to bring names in the near future. As far as principal of Union Academy is concerned, I'm waiting on the direction of the superintendent of the board to get advertising for that position.
Any questions, Mr. Moore, any other activities or concerning those two items? I think that's all we have currently going on, Mr. Moore, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? If not, we'll move forward then into policy. Approval items, Dr. Baldwin, looks like you have two fundraisers, so if you would, just, I think the board would be fine to do both of those at the same time, if that's all right with the rest of the board.
This first one is, what is this, a pancake breakfast? Can we bottom of that?
That's a discount card.
Oh, okay. That was for that. This is the discount card that Coach Brooks always sells to raise money for his football team. This card has been used for the past 4 or 5 years.
No, it says cheerleading and dancing, so they also included in that, selling of that card, Dr. Baldwin, am I understanding right?
Yes.
Is that a statement or a question?
Yeah, this is the same fundraiser that Coach Brooks has used in the past, and the cheerleading dance team will be involved as well. They'll get a cut of the money.
And was there a separate one for the JV varsity cheerleading, was there not? I think to raise money for a camp.
Yeah, that's what's up here now.
Okay.
This one is the, it's the raffle. Yeah, this is a raffle for 2 vacation packages to Gavin and Sevierville. It's to raise money to replace uniform pieces, equipment, and paper cans. This is the Pat's Pancake Breakfast. We used to raise money for the same reasons.
Make a motion to accept both fundraisers, or multiple, all fundraisers that we just read out.
Second?
Yes. And Chris, there is no door-to-door on any of this, correct?
No.
If you've had before, the tickets, they usually make out there, but I'm sorry. That's on top of
Next thing.
We got a motion and a second.
it. Any other discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. If I could, I would make a comment to the rest of the board, and this has nothing to do with this particular group. I hope it's not taken that way. Folks, I feel like we need to start looking at some of the fundraisers very closely. And I'm just gonna say what I felt, but like last year, we got to the point where there was just too much. And I understand the need, but to me, it almost got to the point where we had children constantly fundraising, but instead of academic. So I think we had this, and I will get misunderstood when I say that, but we need to make sure it's for about a purpose, and we need to constantly need to encourage our people, please take that into account. That's it.
And that's one of the things that concerns me, that's, co-curricular monies and that sort of thing. So we put a fine on.
Yes, because the vines, now we're pushing toward having to do that, at the same time, at what point do we take the step where that's all the child is doing, it seems like, is having to step with this and that, so, but please, have nothing to do with the ones here in front of me now. I think we look at it in more detail as we move forward to next year. High school handbook, Dr. Baldwin?
We just made some updates, general updates on page 3, updated graduation rate, our number of faculty, athletic classification, and percent attending college. On page 10, we removed code black from our emergency codes. Basically, we try to be uniform across the district with red, blue, and green. We removed the black, but we still kept the description of what it should do in those circumstances.
Did you put a color to it or anything?
We didn't put a code, we just said if you're in transition, these are the steps you need to take. basically just remove the code from that. On page 20, we amended the exemptions policy to take into account senior skip day or out of school suspension.
What does that mean?
If the student takes part in senior skip day, they need to understand that after that 5th absence, they will not be allowed to, that absence will not be exempted. In other words, if their first 5 absences, one of them includes a senior skip day or they have OSS, then on their 6th absence, then they're gonna have to make that day up. For federal class. We amended the tardy policy to, what you see there. On page 29, we amended the dress code. Basically what we did, the current dress code is that students, again, on student shorts must be no more than one identification card above the knee. The way the dress code read was that no holes were allowed in jeans above the knee. We amended it to reflect that no holes to be above 1 card length above the knee. Number 6 on page 37, we changed the fast track graduation requirements from 21 to 22 to reflect the new history requirements. And then number 7, we included the current 2013-2014 school calendar.
And they've got 4 histories that you have to have for graduation.
Civics, U.S. history, and that's the 2 you have to have now.
Doesn't change till next year.
Right.
So they've added another history on, and that's why you've had trouble with
Right.
Did it go from 30? Don't have to go 33, 34. 32, 33.
Right.
And then with the history, I believe, U.S. history would be 2 credit. It'll be 2 different years, 2 credits. Rather than just have U.S. history, it'll be divided into 2 sections, and the student have to take both sections plus another social studies.
Any other questions for Dr. Ball?
I'm sure that you had Mr. Woody involved in this conversation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Make motion to accept the handbook.
A motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Summer adventure camp contracts, I think these are the standards. Mr. Brian, I'm jumping right past you. Had a long day, excuse me.
It's all right.
That's my excuse, how's that?
These are just some amendments to our handbook. We'd like to add a paragraph in there about cafeteria theft, taken from the Franklin handbook. It's already been approved. Also like to update our driving license for students. The paragraph is the same as in the Franklin handbook. One rule that we would like to add ourselves here in Nantahala is that student drivers must provide the office with a valid copy of their driver's license so that we know that they actually do have a driver's license and to be on school campus, drive a motor vehicle. We're updating our meal prices as reflected through child nutrition. Also, the medication policy adopted through the Highlands handbook, that's already been passed. And we have an update on the senior exit project, whereas any senior who completes 4 college English classes would be exempt from the senior English credit, known as English 4. And it lists all the details for that. So those are our updated and new changes to the Nantahala handbook.
And why would you want to do the last thing you mentioned, Mr. Brown? What's the purpose of that?
We have students who do take college classes, and they have already taken enough English credits that they're receiving college credits for those credits. Therefore, they're higher level classes for them to go back down and to have to complete a senior English when they already have their 4 college English classes.
And that will comply with our Common Core.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I make a motion we approve the changes in Nantahala school handbook.
A motion and a second. Any other questions?
Mr. Hammond, is there a problem with the requiring them to present your license?
This school property is owned actually by the county at this point. It's public property. It's already illegal to drive without a valid license on public property. I don't see any problem with it. I really don't. You think?
Any other questions?
I think as long as it's kept as confidential information, then I don't think you have an issue with that.
Any other questions? If not, I think I have a motion to second. I remember, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? So moved. Now we're on summer adventure camp.
We're just proposing that for summer camp, we have 3 contracts. We have one for the rec park pool. We do a contract with them every year. We have 2 of our groups. We have 50 kids that do a free swim there every day of camp. And we have a contract for woodworking with Dennis Crumpleton. He comes a couple of times a week and does woodworking crafts with our kids at camp. And can't see the third one. New Vision did that. We have a contract with them to service our kindergarten, first and second graders through summer camp doing gymnastics.
And so these are standards that we've had every year, I think.
Yes,
Is that right?
they are.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to accept these contracts, and one of the great things is that this exposure to some of these things.
Second.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Paula?
Yes, this is our annual contract with Doak Rehab for working with students in high school on post-secondary opportunities for employment and college. We do every year, and I believe it's federal.
Any questions?
What's the cost?
$97.25. They supply all 3 of the school systems.
Yes.
All of Jackson, Macon, and Swain County.
Yeah, it's a cooperative partnership, and our part of it is 97.5. It was a little bit more than last year, but that's when we,
Are we the fiscal agent for that project? Which county is you?
I think. But I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Source of funds are federal or state?
That's why I questioned it at all.
Okay. But North Carolina Vocational Rehabilitation Services, is that a separate?
It's a state agency. They pay, if you'll look at the breakdown, we pay 21% each school system of the administrative cost.
So those 2 staff members would serve all 3 of the counties, is that?
They have it's a fairly big organization. We have one person that is kind of assigned to Macon County, and then another person that also helps out under the other counties, among the counties.
You haven't determined if any of that, if it's through the vocational rehab services, you know what status that is in the budget process from the state at this point?
How many other local funds are you paying for?
I'm not sure we have a choice. This is something that's required to get this vocational rehab contract.
I don't really know that much about it, because it's a state organization, that they're required to provide some services, and I'm not sure to tell you the truth why we have to pay part of those administrative costs. I think because each year it has become more expensive for them to provide it.
And maybe you could share a little bit about vocational rehab, what's involved in
students who have disabilities. They don't have to have an IEP, but they have some kind of disability, and they help them if they're going to go to a community college, if they are trying to find employment in the community, they can provide job coaches. They help them explore what the options are, and they continue after they leave high school. It's part of that transition of getting them into something after high school that's
Is
possible.
that Webster Enterprise part of that?
That's not part of Oak Rehab, but they do have students, that's one of the resources that they can help get students associated with. They don't really run any programs, they help put them up with services and programs that are already existing.
And these students to qualify for this are special needs students?
They are.
And I think that's where
How many students did the student fill out your college?
I do not have the report of what, they usually send us a report at the end of the year about how many students they served and kind of what the different categories were, but we don't have that yet.
What about the new girls?
Ages 16, I don't know the number of specific,
I think do we have anything from last year or any topic history on it at all? But on the spot, I know.
of numbers that they
Yes,
sent.
yes, sir.
We have, I don't have it with me, but we have it in my office. They send us in your report. I cannot pull that out of my head at all.
What's the pleasure of the board? Any other questions?
make a motion to accept it as presented.
I have a motion second, I have a motion here, second.
I'll second.
I have a motion second.
Just a brief discussion on it. Obviously, I'm going to be the administrator of that, but it does have a provision in there that if anything changes, that the amendment can be a agreed upon change in the agreement. There can be an amendment to it. And you would probably not have to do that unless there was some substantial change in the amount of money. And if we're required, and the notice says we're required to provide 21.3%, where that came from, I really don't know. But if we were to have to contribute more than that, I think you would have to bring it back for an amendment. If the amount were to be above the 97.25, I think you'd have to bring that back for an amendment as well. Or if it were to be lower than that, but any change, I think there's something we have to watch because nobody knows what the state budget's gonna be on anything. And they could very easily say, well, we're gonna serve this, but we need $12,000 from each county instead of the 9. But any change in that, I would just advise the board that they bring that back, because it does provide for amendments to be made in the context of this. It's a good program. It's stuff that it's great to try to have, when people can't get jobs and they are disabled to the point that they're trying to do that, they need some help along the way, and we need to do that because we have to serve most of these students, I guess, Paul, until they're 21. So we have some who have gotten out of our program, but they need work, they need things to do, and they need people to stand in for them to help them with this program. So if they can become a tax-paying citizen, I think it more than pays for us. No problem, but just to advise the board that if things change in this, that you need to come back with an amendment rather than just say no, you violated the, you didn't. And I think they would let us know if there was going to be a major change in it.
If there could be any change, I guess, so. Excuse me. Well, we have a motion to approve with that. I think, if I'm correct, Dr. Duncan, my Robert's Rules of Order is coming in. We would need to add that amendment now, would we not? Or would we have that, Mr. Henry, now? We modify it to add that?
No, I think Dr. Duncan's saying that if there was any change that resulted in a monetary change, it would have to come back to the
All right, now, any other comments? If not, have motion second, we're going to slow the time. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I may step out of line here a little bit, but with the permission of the board. Mr. Reddy, I'd like to go into, do we currently have a policy as far as after-hours usage of our campuses and activities that can take place on those venues?
By community groups or by school groups?
Anybody?
There's a community use policy. It's a school group, I mean, I think those decisions about school groups and their use of campus would be left on a building by, principal's decision.
Mm-hmm.
There is a district policy on facility use by community groups.
Right.
Karen, do we have anything that governs that you got, did you got with anything particular?
The paperwork comes through that community use and the principal signs off on it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and cut to the chase. We had an incident that took place on our high school campus, I think recently, that we may want to look and see if we have a policy that could be used to address that, where I think we had some students together and some damage was done to buildings. I was wondering, do we have anything that concerns that at this point in time?
Talking about the high school
For any campus?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's statutory prohibitions on vandalism and abuse property.
Okay.
That's pretty well taken care of. I don't really think you need a policy that says that.
Okay.
It's pretty well set. It's criminal.
I think there are issues, if you have someone who is an employee and they knowingly allow something like that to happen, that they should expect swift and firm action from the Board of Education. And I think we have to be aware of that. And whether it's specifically in policy, and I think that you may have to, that it's not in policy written that way, but I'm not so sure that something like that would be appropriate.
I'll tell you what I'll do if this is what the board would desire is, I'll get with Dr. Duncan and Dr. Baldwin and look at that particular situation and see if there was anything further that could have been done in policy to help or should be done in reaction by the board now, or if it may just be a law enforcement.
But if you're a person that's taking the vet, it's criminal act.
And that's the kind of thing, let me get with the good doctors and get back to it on.
Let me look at the other board members. I may be the Lone Rangers talking about that. I'm not sure if there's any other support for.
No, I agree with you. I mean, pranks are pranks and little things, and we've done it since time immemorial, I guess, but I think this time kind of got out of hand. If there's any way to kind of put a stop to it, I'm with them altogether.
I think it's a criminal act, and I think that's what Dr. Paul worked through. If you have a person taking the vet in that, you involve yourself in that, and then you just move into the criminal part of it, and it really takes the school out of it.
Some degree, but the fact that it takes place on, if you don't mind, Dr.
Dr. Haney, promote it. You'll get more money, John.
If you would, with the board, I think, if you would look at that and see if there's anything that we might possibly look at along with consultation about strengthening that and make sure that we kind of handle and try to discourage those, I think this would be very helpful. Okay, thank you.
Realize he's on drugs, Sean.
I know if he feels half as bad as he sounds, he doesn't feel too
Career,
Yeah, where's home sitting
career and technical education plan, Nancy, there you go.
Every year, we need to get this approved on what we're going to use our monies for. I've given, Renee, did I not give you an exact? I thought I had. I thought I had given it to you before we moved the date, but anyway. I do have an executive summary, and I can get that to you if you want it. It basically looks at our money. I get money from the federal government, and I get from the state as well. And our money is pretty much status quo to what it was last year. So what we want to do with that money this year is make sure that we do upkeep and repair. We have a lot of equipment that's pretty expensive we have to take all our sewing machines and get them repaired and renewed. We have some appliances that we have to replace. Additionally, we had a NATEM site visit where we were certified in our automotive department, and they made 2 recommendations that we have to follow, and they're pretty expensive as well. One is to get a new lift, and the other one is to get 2 large tool chests. So those run about $4,000. The lift and the tool chest as well run about $4,000 each. So that's another area in which we're going to use our money. In this summary, you can read the whole plan in its entirety. It's about 100 and some pages. But
Stephanie said she followed you.
I was gonna borrow your money, Kevin,
but like I said, it is just, we're not adding any new programs. We're just trying to maintain and update what we currently have. I need your approval.
And this is federal and state funds designated for this program. So I think that's what we have Nancy in place to do, is my opinion. Any other questions, Nancy?
Make a motion to accept the proposal.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Can I just say, we had our student organization go to the state for competition, and once again, we had a first place winner. So we will have a student do a job skills demonstration in Kansas City in June.
Excellent. What particular area was it in, Nancy? I'm sorry.
A job skills demonstration. It was the same girl that won last year, and she was a junior this year. She's a senior, so hopefully having that experience in Kansas City, she'll be a lot more confident.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
2013-16 AIG plan, Paula.
Yes. So, I hate it when people start with the word so, and I just did it. Not very careful.
Reinvented who?
It's time for our update of our AIG plan. We have to do it every 3 years. It's required to be approved by the local board of education, and then it'll go to the state board of education. What we sent you was a summary of the plan. I went through each of the 6 standards and identified what our focus practices are going to be for the coming 3 years in each standard. I sent you a copy of our handbook, which has a lot of the paperwork that we use, our identification criteria, and also sent you just a little summary of program highlights and how we are serving AIG students at each level. You also may go in and read this document in its entirety if you would, after you get bored with the CGE document. Or if you would like to.
Is there any major changes about, like, what is it when you target them, what are the requirements to get in there, or any major, have you changed it was 3 years, because I haven't on it all those.
Yes, no, we didn't make any major changes. We did include a more description of the connections program at MBI, because that was, we developed that after our first plan. We tried to talk a little bit more about some ways that we can address the social and emotional needs of the students at high school, since most of their courses self-selection for honors and AP courses. The criteria for placement is the same.
And what was your result of, what are you trying to do to accommodate that social and emotional at high school?
We're trying to look at how we can group those kids together, maybe through their homeroom or advisory group, and have the AIG coordinator try to meet with those classes. They don't meet very long, but give time to get some information out to them about other opportunities that come up. It's really hard in high school because you can't take them out of any of their core classes to do that. So do you have any questions about this?
Maybe just it's gotten harder. You have to take U.S. history, which was provided by one teacher. Now you've got another U.S. history of the same duration, but you got 2 sections of it. So you just complicated an elective situation, which that might could help you in AID, but you just taken a section out, but you're covering the same subject.
reach that middle school. I mean, elementary seems to be extremely covered with the AG. I know you're just in high school, but again, and I think we're trying to do that. Renee's doing a great job trying to address our middle school, but I just think there's a great need there, and there's a fall through the cracks a little bit, or I have seen it in the past. So I'll get with just the board member and Karen, and ask you to continue to try to make sure that middle school in all areas, in all schools, just whatever you do. I know you're trying to address it, but it's an ongoing target, maybe target that it is. It doesn't really know we caught. But thank you for all you do.
Any questions, Paul? Motion approval.
Make a motion for approval.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye, saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. I don't think I've seen this one.
I'm her.
Okay.
So, this is not the full contract because the funding for a contract would be tied to the Title I application that Carol will be talking about next month. What I want to talk to you about is the proposal for the contract. There are, the main reason is that we need to let the folks at Linda Newbell know what direction that we're going to be going next year. Holly's life is kind of hanging in the balance until we decide what we're going to do. We did do some negotiation with them from the first price that they sent us on proposal 1. Actually, I'm gonna look right over there on the over because I thought I had it on this. Doctor. Yes, doctor. So on proposal 1, that is looking at a full year consultant. Also looking at adding on Cloud 9 training and consultation to support the rollout of that program, certification of some new candidates, and recertification of the ones that we already have.
Workshops.
Informed workshops. Very similar to what we've done this year. We started out with the cost at around 190,000, and after some negotiation, ended up at 170,000. And so, I really don't know protocol, if y'all approve the proposal and then come back and re-approve the contract, or how to work.
Can you tell us how, I know some of this is Title I funds, can you tell us where the funds would come from?
The funds would come from Title I and at-risk funds, the state 69. We paid for part of it out of 69 this year, and once you paid out of a fund that is joined with a federal fund, you have to continue that partnership with the funding, so it would be those two. And Carol could answer this better than me, but I believe she is going to have a little bit more carryover than she thought that she has earmarked for this funding.
This funding has to be used for reading and, for at-risk kids anyway, and this Linda Newbell does fit that.
Yes.
And can I also ask you, would this be your recommendation to take this number 1 where we rehire Holly back for the year and continue on with Carrie, which I believe this is your proposal? Is this also your first recommendation?
Yes.
I don't think we're in a position to make a decision. Like I said, we don't have the contract in front of us at this point.
And I agree with that. I think the board needs to have an executable contract in front of you before you
Describe to me the difference between the two options. What is the main difference? We're talking about $60,000 difference in the cost.
A half a year. The second proposal is to have a consultant on board half a year. If we do that, we will not do the on Cloud 9 because we won't be able to have the support to roll out the NAP component. We will not be able to probably add any new certification candidates. We'll be able to recertify the ones that we have. And we will not be able to do as much of the focus on that Tier 1 and 2 whole classroom that we were talking about at the preventive level, because we'll only have somebody half a year. And in all likelihood, it won't be Polly, so even though we have them half a year, it'll take them at least a month if not more, to kind of get acclimated to us and us being in the system. So we'd really be losing, quite a bit of the support. Our hope is if we have proposal one, that we would be able to be fully, what's the word, self-sufficient.
So in other words, this might be our last year.
The only thing that we think we would need after one more year of a full-time consultant would be, of course, the training, the workshops for new teachers who've not been trained, and for them to come periodically to make sure that our certification candidates get recertified. After, we just feel like with one more year, it's gonna really put us where we need to be to have the staff able to, pace themselves, write their lesson plans, so that Carrie can get to everybody and give them the support that they need.
And with that one more year, you would have 5-9 starting and up and going.
Yes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that on 5-9 is not near as hard to implement because it's based on the VB.
One of the requirements for actually being able to train somebody who, with on-cloud 9 is that they've already been trained and been using stars and VB, because the same components that are coming from both of those programs are implemented in on-cloud 9. So the learning curve is going to be less in that respect.
I think there's 4 presentations before the board versus 2. Not an option, but option 1, Linwood Valley, there's 4 presentations.
What I get was mainly the time that I'm going to use the right word. Basically, Representative Linwood would be here. That's the difference. That was a big difference in the cost.
Happy your versus.
Mr. Chairman, I think procedurally where the board is, what the motion that I would suggest you entertain would be for either option 1 or option 2 as an instruction to bring back a proposed contract to the board at your next meeting.
Excuse me. I'm asking one more time talking to you. The funding for this are not coming from any local funds, correct? It comes from Title I and from your
State at-risk
state
funds.
of risk.
And EC also can kick some in.
So what you're saying is the funds are there for proposal?
Yes, this, according to
I'll make a motion to Linwood Vale option 1 with, what's
To
the
be
motion?
brought back as a proposed.
A contract be based around proposal. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Paul. Elementary class size assessment, Mr. Moore.
Chairman, members of the board, this is our 8-month numbers. I haven't seen a lot of fluctuation, hardly any at all, in the last 2 or 3 months. Our focus now will be on our incoming kindergarten and to make sure that we have accurate numbers, to make sure that we distribute teachers throughout the district evenly. I'll answer any questions you may have about the numbers at this time, but as I mentioned before, very low fluctuation in the numbers at this point.
If I may, Dr. would you explain to those at present what's going on down there in Raleigh as far as class size goes at this time? And they got the board members also know.
Yeah, the Senate, North Carolina Senate has passed an appropriations bill that removes any class size requirement for any subject area or the penalty for not following that particular class size requirement, which in essence, if you carry it to the extreme, means that the local school board will be the one that will set the class size, and they will have that flexibility. Part of that move, I think, is to make us think we're getting a lot of local flexibility with less dollars. Because all of us know when you raise the class size, it costs you less to operate. But I think it's irresponsible on the Senate's part to suggest, when probably 50 all 50 states have some type of class size requirement. Reducing the class sizes, in fact, we are still below the class size at even the state class size at the secondary level, which is like 1 to 26. But if you remove the class size requirement, then there's a tendency to take advantage of some situations and possibly in an effort to save money, you could put 26 or 27 kindergartners in a class and 30 first graders and those kind of things, and I can tell you it'll save some money, but it won't be right. And it will not be fair to any teacher. But the Senate seems not to care about that. But our only hope is that the House of Representatives will amend that to the point that that it will be at least some semblance in there. I believe in flexibility of dollars, but class size has been a part of the law for years. There's no doubt that smaller class sizes have a contributing effect. If you don't think it does, look at what's happened with the Linda Move Bell issues and picture yourself in a classroom with 30 or 35 kids trying to do that particular program on a whole class basis. Holly, I don't think it'll work, would it?
Actually, if what we have been talking about quite a bit, Terry and I, is making sure that the teachers have enough information that they can do that tier 2 intervention if they needed to within the classroom.
But it'd be much easier if that classroom was 18 rather than 30.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. It always is going to be, especially that whole classroom instruction, just being able to deliver it and get everybody covered.
But that's where we are. We haven't heard any more about that. But I mean, we're proceeding as if the class size requirements were still in force. I think that's what we've sort of staffed our information budget toward that. And obviously the board, if they've got the discretion to do it, they can change it. But I would just be very careful of making massive adjustments.
I know that would be good for me and them said what was going on.
I think this may sound far out. I think it's time to have a conversation with the fire marshal. Because if there is capacities, this room right here has a capacity 11. I've got a feeling, if you researched it, you may have a capacity for a classroom. We should have. You take the size of a high school student, you try to put 30, 35 in the classroom. That is not a safe thing. I just think that should be looked at as far as capacity. I know your gyms have a capacity. Your fine arts building has a capacity. Everywhere you go, you have a capacity. So what is the capacity for a classroom in regard to a fire marshal? Just get a question for our fire marshal, just to see if there is because you put the little people in there that may have I don't know, it's just something they need to look at.
I think our focus is what's why we're not trying to say it. Obviously, this county is not planning on doing exactly that. I think we understand the need for smaller class sizes to give our children education with every what we need to do. But you're right, that's what we look at it.
And we've tried to stay with that 1 to 22, even up through the middle in high school. And I mean, if you base every subject in a 10 to 12 school on 1 to 26, you're going to be doing away with some classes, bunches of them. So, as long as the funding is there, you could do it. But I hope that doesn't prevail, but you never know. I mean, stranger things have happened.
Next are buildings and grounds. We actually have 3 approval items for, I think, usage of our activity buses. These are all things we've done in the past with the board, move them all together. Nor, if you would, just give us a brief description of what these are, and we'll just try to we'll do them all at the same time.
The first one is asking about the use of an activity bus for the Franklin Festival. The next one is
July, where they bring people out of the park up to the areas to move them out quickly. And the last one, which has been several times, is through the town highlands, through their summer day camp. And they're doing 4 trips, one out of county and the other 3 are in county. All of the drivers, they use our drivers, and they've asked us to do it.
Make a motion to accept all, those uses.
A motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. I think it's a good thing that we're doing, we're making the community a little bit. Updates, Dr. Duncan.
Nantahala window project update. Let me ask James if he'll come and do that. I've walked through, I've looked at it. Obviously, these windows in here are not part of the project, but they have done really, really well, all obviously within budget. And James, if you just briefly tell them, I think we're about finished.
We have approximately 2 classrooms left, one computer lab and the kitchen itself. We had to wait till the end of the school year to get into those areas. And then they'll begin, that's approximately 3 days of installation there, and then they will begin trimming out the windows, which now that the students are all out of the classroom, it should go relatively quickly. So we're looking at approximately 2 weeks and they'll be off site. They've done a really nice job and cooperated with us.
As if we get out and the sun's still there, as you go down this side of the building, you'll notice that it looks like that the windows are tinted, which they are. Gives a lot from a safety standpoint, and then also from an energy efficient standpoint. And you won't be able to stand and with your hand on the window, and if it's 32 degrees outside, have frostbite. We're going to eliminate that. It's been a very good project, James. Very cooperative, and the staff up here have done a great job of altering their time schedules and moving around. And appreciate the county and their contribution to that project, as well as what we had left over to put in it too. So I think it ended up being about a $67,000 to $70,000 total project, which was well within the budget. There was no problem. But that's been a good project. Highlands project update. I visited that project. Some of you may have visited it as well. I know Ms. McCall has been involved up there as well. Dr. Baldwin's been up there. They are progressing very, very well with that project. They've moved, almost all of the classrooms are completely gone in terms of the old classrooms. They have actually started removing part of the floor in some of the rooms. Most all of the ceiling tile is down. All of the old cabinetry work is out of there. And so they'll begin in earnest, well, this week really, and full speed ahead to try to get as much as possible by August 26th. So that project, it'll be supervised during the summer by some of our staff. Terry Bell, of course, is the project manager up there, and I'm sure we'll stay updated on that as we go through. I don't think they're going to have any problems in finishing it. So very good project, and they're moving forward.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bryan, for overseeing it. Business and finance approval items, fund distributions, redistributions, excuse me. Again, especially the board to look at all of them and move forward. We'll do all the fund distributions for all the schools then, and then we'll do the budget amendments separately. Thank you, Mr. Taxes. And
We have 3 for Franklin High School. The first one to see is the transfer of $150 from the senior race account to the indoor track account. The next one is the Rise Club, the Swag Club and the Rise Club are being combined as one club, so we'll just combine the monies to one club. The next one is they are taking $2,700 out of the general athletic account and giving each of the sports listed below there $150. The next one's for Nantahala School. It's just a combination, trying to clean up some accounts and stuff. The bulk of it is the co-curricular money that's being divided out to the individual sports, $550 for the individual sports, and then we're combining some of the co-curricular money and the teacher money.
I make a motion to approve all fund redistributions.
a motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Okay, Angie, on budget.
Which is another allotment to try to get the diesel fuel, which is still not up to what it's costing us, but they did give us a little bit more money. The other thing that is worth mentioning is we got $4,000 from the Indian Gaming Fund. So that's a new allotment that we'll be getting, hopefully, periodically. But the rest of them are just moving, trying to clean up specific line items.
And that is just put in there to your account, and it's not, you don't want to spend it.
It's a state allotment, so it has to be cleared out by the end of the year, June 30th. So we'll make sure that happens. The next one is federal amendments. The only additional funds that we have from there is $7,130 in Title I funds, and that's just an adjustment throughout the year that you have occasionally. And the rest of them are cleaning up accounts, we're moving from one line item to another to cover expenditures throughout the year.
So just basically where you might have been spending $600,
Right.
and I'm saying it stands, it ended up that you said we were spending on a
Workshop or something, yeah. Yeah, right. Next one is current expense. There are no additional funds, that's just cleaning up line items.
Let's go now, why don't you go get some more money?
Well, I would like to have done that, but unfortunately, I couldn't find it. Capital outlay is the same thing, but we do have, it shows an additional revenue on our books, the $116,092. What that is the bus financing that DPI gives us the money for our new buses, and then we have to run it through our books, so that's just the entry to record it.
Any more questions?
Do we still have a balance on part of the jail?
We do still have about $74,000 in Dr. J. And most of those projects are complete. We still, I think the Highlands baseball project is still in progress, or are they complete? I'm not, I haven't had an update on that yet.
Honestly, don't know. I went over there and watched baseball the other year, but I did not hear them saying it was complete on us.
The two big things that are still continuing right now is the FHS Media Center and main building and the Macon Middle School bathroom renovations. And there's, most of the expenditures are taking place in that. It's just a matter of, they were waiting on the kids to get out so that they could get them started to make sure.
Just as an aside to what Angie's saying, this year, so far, we've had Macon Middle School Bell Intercom System completed, FHS security cameras completed, all of Valley custodial equipment completed, all of Valley Moore completed. All of those have been completed. And Tim, I think we've completed a project with the cameras here. We added 2 additional cameras at Nantahala School. The technology upgrades, could you give us a brief update on where we are with that?
Yeah, we've probably spent somewhere around, probably about $600,000 with the additional, well, we know probably more than that now. We just ordered 500 more computers that haven't gone through the approval process, but the PO hasn't been cut for it from the county. So we probably spent about $800,000 of the $1.5 million. We've got a lot of computers coming in this summer that we're going to be replacing the rest of the labs. We replaced the labs in all the most all the elementary schools with computer labs. And we're upgrading the teacher machines as well in most of those schools. The 500 computers that are coming in are going to replace the labs at the middle school and the Franklin High School. Those are additional computers that will be done this summer. We did several iPad pilots. This textbook pilot was free. We went really well. We did several at the high school, one at Nantahala and one at Highland School. They did really well. So a lot of good feedback. We're going to determine next year where we need to go with the iPads. It seems to be a good format to do the EOCs and EOGs on. So we're going to be trying that next year a little bit more. We can't just put another computer lab in a school. We don't have the space or the money to do that. This is a way to get those devices in home schools to be able to take those ELCs and ELGs that are going to be online in 2014, 2015. That's what we're going to It was, I believe it was available online, I don't know if we did it.
I think our fifth graders did. Just only,
I think you only did English.
I just know that right in fact, I don't even know how it came about. Some community person was asking the teacher and the students, and they were extremely responsive, and actually, they felt like some of the students tried harder and were more in tune to it, because technology is just a way, and it's just the way they live.
It seems to be a more focused, way to take an assessment, if we go back and forth, and they're only doing one question at a time, not a whole bunch of questions, and a whole page full of answers, and one thing.
Well, I know her what possibly got.
And it went really well, we didn't have any really good major issues with that.
Again, if I can say something real quick, and thank you to the commissioner for doing that. We were in a position where the state was mandating doing these things online, we had no money to do it. Yet they were saying, you're going to do it, typical state. So our commissioner stepped up, and we were most certainly in their debt. They had brought us from, how far behind the curve, Tim?
We were about 1.5 million.
I mean, years-wise, weren't we about 9 years, 4 years or so? And they managed to put us back over where we need to be, so they are to be commended for their foresight.
So we've got this whole next year to spend that the rest of that 1.5 million and get caught up on the restoration.
And I believe Tim is doing a very good job with Mr. Fetters, and Mr. Fetters did ask for our computer to come in while we were having the renovation, and while I have new computers coming in, they prior to all that, so I think you're great to work with them, so thank you. Which is awesome to have that come in with all the other stuff, instead of having to do it.
Budget discussion, Dr. Duncan, was there anything else that we needed to?
You can get a motion.
I'm sorry, I'm on drugs.
I make a motion to accept Angie's budget.
Second.
Have a motion, second, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Now, Ms. Head's not shaking her yet. Dr. Duncan.
Okay. Make it short as I can, or as short as you want me to make it. The county commission released their proposed budget to us, which said that they were willing to give us $7.118330, which was $7.1 million, which was about a 3% increase over our current expense from the previous year. We have proposed as a board and talked about it and discussed a proposed cut of about $914,000. And we have mentioned that to the commissioners. And we have redone all the budget, and Angie has been through it time and time again. And if we took all the pay raise out of it, we left the utility increase in it because nobody knows what's going to happen there. We left the health increase in there because we know that's going to increase, just a matter of how much. And we left the small retirement increase in there that came out of the Senate budget. So when we do all of that, we end up going to the county and saying, in order for us to have a reasonable school year, to not have to completely lay off 31 teachers in addition to the 11 positions we've already talked about, that we would need approximately $440,000 additional dollars. We will get a chance to present that information to the county commission on June the 4th, which is a Tuesday night, and I honestly think they'll listen, and I think that they will do something. At this point, I don't know. When they funded the budget, they had in there the 2% supplement, which has been a part of the budget all along. That was $430,000. I have no reason to believe that they want to consider or reconsider or not consider that. But I think we have to, as a board and staff, be willing to listen to that if there was some movement toward getting us the $440,000 that we need to open school this next year. Now, the thing that the school board has to keep in mind is that that does not project any fund balance. We cut $550, that's $1.4 million that we have said that that we have cut out of our budget. It's not going to be without pain, as you know. I mean, what this is doing, this is saying that, yeah, we're going to have less instructional supplies. We're going to have less money to operate our software programs on, less money to operate our athletic programs on, less money to spend on anything, really. But if we do our part and do whatever we need to do, then I feel like that certainly they won't ignore that at all. I mean, my objective is to have I wish we had a budget to present and get on with it, but we don't have one idea of what the House or the Senate's going to come down to. Between the governor's budget, the House budget, and the Senate budget. The governor's budget has a 1% pay increase in it. That's not in here. The Senate budget has almost a decrease, but they have a zero proposal for salary increments. We don't know what the House of Representatives will be. But our proposal with the $7.559 million for us to operate next year does not include any expenditure for salaries increase, does not include any projection for fund balance. Angie can tell you, I think that we're going to end up the year without having to ask the county for money. And we weren't sitting here doing that in July. We have done, everybody has done the right thing, sometimes a not so popular thing. And we've had our face blooded over it several different times. But it comes down to it, everybody has to make adjustments. It's not easy, especially when you've not had to do it before. They're going to do away with the reversion. That seems to be a possibility, but the process is just like anything else. Oh, we did away with reversion, but by the way, we cut the allotment to you. So they really took the money and called it by a different name.
When do you get the results from this state?
It looks like.
Is there no deadline?
No, they're talking, the House has not taken it up yet. They're talking maybe 2 weeks. I mean, they have an objective there to pass a budget and get out of town before the end of June. I mean, we've been months later than that, but I would think.
Historically, it's about July.
Right, and I would hope that you'd be able to adopt a budget. The county will give us what they're going to give us at some point. They will have to pass a budget. That will be their final say. We have to pass a budget. Hopefully we can do that on June 24. If not, it will end up being in July. But we do have a little extra time this year. The press is not on to start school August 1st or 2nd. I mean, we do have an extra 2 months. And I just, the county is going to have to, I mean, they're going to have to help us somewhere. If we don't, let's just say, no, there's no more money, no tax increase, no nothing, then this board would have to sit down on the 24th of June and decide where's that $400,000 coming from. And that is severe cuts, because that means direct personnel, that means increasing class sizes, that means all of those things that we don't want to go to. So that's a serious situation. But I feel like if we can, make our case that we're willing to do something, if they're willing to come forward with that, and overall, that's not a lot. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is a lot of money. But by the same token, when we're doing everything we possibly can, to live with things that we've had that have been part of our program for years, and we're willing to say, hey, you know, we think that we can for at least a year do without this. I mean, we've got people that really are fussing because of a particular software program that they depended on to work with. We've said, no, we're not reviewing it. Study Islands, it's not a bad program, but when you've got to make a decision as to whether you're going to have a classroom teacher or a software program, you go with the classroom teacher part of it. The same thing with all of that. I mean, I hate to use Century Scholars. I mean, we've had that at $20,000 for years. But the person's been working in that. They'll just have to cut their hours. The program, yeah, there'll be some adjustments there, but that will have to happen. I mean, we've had a student services position this year at the high school. That will have to go. We've had some county office staff positions. At least one of those will have to be cut. The phone supplements that we have given to staff members, those will have to be cut. You know, we've already cut some clerical at the central office will have to be cut. We've done some savings up here because of an adjustment that we made in personnel. And I'm not happy about having to do any of it. I'd rather not. But realistically, we have to do some things. That's kind of my story, and I guess I'll stick to it. But I don't think there's any option we have of these 11 and maybe even more teacher positions. I mean, I don't think we would have to go beyond that. And what this is that's absorbing those positions that were out there as interims and some other areas. So as long as the board would hold with that, I think once you make that 9,000 commitment, though, it's up to the board and the incoming superintendent to live within that, because once you get your money, there is no more. And obviously, I'd love to have some fund balance, and I think that's something the board, Mr. Henning, that they would need to consider in terms of resolution and policy, requesting the county commission to say we would like to maintain a 3 or 5% fund balance at all times, maybe 8%. I think you heard Mr. Horton say that the county tries to maintain a 3-month fund balance. And a month expenditure, Angie, for us is approximately how much? $2 million a month. So if we had a 3-month contingency fund, that would be $6 million. We've never seen that.
I can tell you for certain, Dr. Duncan, that any authority on government will tell you that it's just good government and central government have some funding to fall back on.
Right. Because you don't, we're having no fund balance. If the state said, oh, by the way, did you know your teachers are going to get a 3% raise? They all get excited about it except us.
We're not sending you the money to do it.
Right, how you gonna pay for it? Well, what they've been doing is taking the reverse and then giving you a raise. I don't understand that. That math, Cloud 9 math is not teaching that.
Mr. Shields, do you have a question?
Did I hear you say it took athletics, took that money, and now it's in a co-curricular, like they distribute it out?
We give them co-curricular money at the beginning of the year,
Right.
and then they put it in their individual athletic accounts. But that was for this year. That was for the current year. So we will,
Carry over.
if you all approve this list of $914,000, we will not be giving it co-curricular.
I just want to clear my head.
Which is not good.
It's not good. No. Any other questions? Any of the board, Dr. Duncan? Let me say, Dr. Duncan's done a wonderful job. If you told me when we started this that you could have saved us $550,000, I would look at you and said, yeah, right. But he managed to do it. Makes some very hard choices, so we're looking at that.
And I guess what I'm looking for is when we stand before the holy court. That's what we call it in Tennessee, you call it the county court. This is the county commission. I feel like you're in court all the time. But this is, when we're talking to them, we have to all be together that this is, if we go in there and ask for unlimited, I know they'll say, well, I thought you were gonna cut something. And this will be going into next year, and I just need some direction, hope everybody can attend that meeting, and I believe it's at 6.
I think it's 6 o'clock before, at their meeting.
5:30 at the courtroom, or the commission room, next Tuesday night. But if you want to give me some direction to proceed on that, I will, or if we just want to present it as we have discussed it. I mean, it's a little hard for you to approve cuts when you don't know what you got. But you have to be ready to say, yes, none of us feel good about it, but we feel like that in order to get into the budget process, we've got to do something. So.
I think our superintendent's asking for some direction.
Well, I think he's presenting direction to us,
Right.
just say carry on.
Yeah.
I think you met with the powers to be, and they've given you some direction, there's some hope, and so just carry on with what you.
That's good. I think that we need to do that, Dr. I think we need to say this is what we'd like to be, but at the same time, this is what we have looked at this, and this is, if we're forced to, this is what we can do.
But at the same time, I know personally, I'm against the co-curricular cuts and so forth, so I still think they need to know that we don't want to become this ongoing thing. I mean, next year, I mean, I'm a huge supporter of athletics, because I do think it makes academics better, and it makes our town better, and so, you know, I see what you're saying, but I also can't say, okay, well, this is going to be fine to continue to do this. I think we need to know that we still want this to be in our schools, and, you know, we have to live with this for us to give you the money, but I know I'll be talking to Mr. Baldwin, and what can we do to make this happen next year? And it's something that I don't want to do as a school system, is to say that we're all of a sudden, and there's other things on there, I'm not sure, I'll even look at them and see what they all were, but, you know, there's other things on there that would concern me to put in place an ongoing.
Well, and I think this is, I agree with you, Mr. Call, that this is, that it's drastic measures. And it may be that if you can get some fund balance and get a balance in your funding, that these things can come back, because you may look at a section of the budget and say, look, we can do something different with that money. If the board comes back with a priority and says, look, one of the first things we want to restore is this particular item, then you have to work toward that. But, I mean, having no fund balance is no fun. You're just dead broke. And that's all the way it is. And I think that the state of North Carolina, at some point, the economy has gotten better. Their tax increases have been a lot better. And all we need for them to do is to step up, give us the ADM funding that they have projected all along for us, get the reversion, give us what we earn, and we can make money.
So if we don't get the full reversion, we can make some decisions to restore some of these things that we're cutting if we don't decide to put it all into the fund balance, which, you know,
Right.
it's hard to be putting money in fund balance when we're directly affecting the quality of education.
Possibly, what they're talking about doing, they're saying they may not do it away for reversion, but they're gonna cut the actual ADM money.
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. So let's say we get a little more money from the state. Let's say instead of losing $1.1 million or something, we only lose $500,000. We could still, as a board, at that time, make a decision to restore partial some of these things we cut.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I think once you have a budget in front of you and you begin to operate on it, then just like this year, I mean, you know, there were some areas where we could, I mean, out of one account, we pulled $37,000 out that we knew we were not going to need this year. I mean, I didn't need to go anywhere. I just stay home, you know. And see, you have other issues. I mean, this year you had an issue about selecting a new superintendent. Well, you obviously won't have that expense next year.
You obviously better not.
Yeah, I think it's definitely then just get moving forward, is that we retain our original request. I think we need to change that. we've come up, Angie's worked hard, so we're talking about, we've increased it from, we were at 1.9 now to about 1.5, correct? I think we need to say this is what we're going to have. I totally agree. If we don't, then we're prepared to make discussions. I think we need to stick with it. I mean, that's what we need to do. The rest of the board, we're not done to the meeting.
And is there anything else they need to know about that going into Tuesday's meeting? I mean, we've revised the budget. I think you maybe have in your folders a revision. Do they have this?
They do not.
Okay.
Could somebody email me the list of what we would, if we only get the certain amount of money, the things that we are saying that we will take out of our students?
Right.
All right. Moving on. I think we had, Ms. Gordon, you were going to give us some information on volunteer hour.
As this school year has drawn to a close, Macon School is very fortunate to have a group of people who have contributed many, many hours to our school system, our parents, grandparents, guardians, PTO boards, your civic organizations, your clubs, our teachers, businesses, all people out in the community who have come in and volunteered at our schools. I do not have all of the figures for May. They've been coming in, but as of 4 o'clock today, that figure has already gone up. We have 18,500.6 hours, volunteer hours, that has been given to our school system. And by the time the other schools get the rest of the figures in, I fully believe that we will have close to 20,000 hours of volunteer time. And if you were to take that and multiply it by your minimum wage, you can see what they are doing for our schools. It's a great group of people who have done a lot of good things for our schools, and I just wanted to make you aware of this.
Okay, the figure. There's a lot there, goes down. Superintendent information, discuss any discussion upcoming events, Dr. Douglas?
Not in particular events. Dr. Baldwin's graduation is, we did have, I know Highlands had a nice graduation, some were represented there. I was out here at Nantahala. That was a very good, very nice ceremony. I appreciate that invitation to come out with Ms. Evans to, I think we got him graduated. I think they were. Mr. Bryan and the staff did a good job of that. And Chris, I believe yours is on Friday night at Western Ramsey Center. I'll be out of town 2 days this week, and then I'll be out of town from the 10th through the 20th. That was not something you.
Early college is Sunday.
Sunday, yes. Early college graduation is Sunday. Union Academy graduated, I think, 9 or 10 students on, very good in it. And obviously I want to commend Ms. Breedlove, Ms. Thompson, for the job that she pitched in and did in Mr. Reese's absence. Unfortunate situation of him not being able to be a part of that, which I know that he would, but I appreciate her coming in and filling in that leadership role there for at least the last 2 months of school. But as before, I told you I was going to be out some, and I'm going to stick to that. So, but I'll be back for the board meeting on the 24th, and the school system will be working 4 10-hour days. The office will be open, I believe, from 7 a.m. until 5. Monday through Thursday, starting the first week in June. That's starting next Monday, and we'll remain in that as we go on through the summer. That's a good opportunity to get some time away and available. And sometimes people do have to work on that Friday, particular finance. They just sometimes we have to adjust some things in the finance department because of having to pay bills and having to take advantage of discounts and things that we need to do to.
And new loose games and shades on Friday, so.
Right. Yeah. And we don't pay any attorney fees on Friday or anything.
The doctor now, we may have to.
Well, I'm I'm sure his degree is Doctor of Jurisprudence. I have one in the family too, so I know how that works. Yeah. I don't have any other information.
Anything else in there? If not, Ms. Jennings, you would read the rationale to consider going into closed session, please.
Yes, for the purpose of the closed session is that GS 143-3.1186 to consider the qualifications, knowledge, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of additional employment of the individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee. And just in case, I'm also going to suggest that you cite GS 143-3.1183 to consult with an attorney employed or obtained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged.
We have the two reasons. Do I hear a motion to go into closed
Make a
session?
motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? So moved. For those that have not been here before, we will, what will happen, we will come out of closed session, back in open session, announce any possible actions to be taken as a result of the closed session. So you're welcome to stay. I can't make any promises about how long it will be. We'll try to keep it as short as possible, but we will be coming back out for those that would like to stay.
That means we can vote.